Recap if you're new here. World at War good, zombies fun. Knocked, B tier for boring, Verrückt, A tier for scary. Watch that video first, it's in the description. Now, I'm going back to analyzing a decades-old boomer shooter. In just the first two maps, Zombies was an exciting game mode showing growth. But map packs 2 and 3 would change everything. Let's jump in. It's now June 2009, and most people are only really worried about one thing.
A homemade helium mylar balloon believed to be carrying a 6-year-old boy.
And at this point, if you hadn't bought any DLC, Zombies is just a fun little minigame. But for those of us running up our parents' credit card paying $15 for new maps, we're watching the mode change before our very eyes.
Want it to be surprised. Whoa! What's that?
No!
A few months back, Verrückt showed us Zombies was growing, but we weren't sure if it would take the next step. This was 2009, before seasonal content was the norm. COD 4 only got one DLC cycle, and there wasn't much reason to think World at War would be any different. Most of us were just hoping Zombies would come back in the next game, but Treyarch was not done with World at War, not even close. They wanted to solidify Zombies as a series staple, and love it or hate it, Shi No Numa took the mode one step closer. Even before launch, this was the most hyped map yet. Verrückt got a trailer or 4, but Shi No Numa got a great trailer. I guess editing one at a time really helps with quality. They teased so much new stuff. Is that a new electricity gun? Dogs? What the hell is that spinning thing? Are we getting actual characters?
This will make them spray all over my face. What did you say?
And the best part, it wasn't a reformatted campaign mission or MP map. The location fit the setting, but it was original. For the first time, Zombies was standing on its own 2 feet. And when DLC 2 hit the PlayStation Store, it didn't disappoint. So let's boot up Shi No Numa. Almost immediately, we figured out why Shi No Numa was so special. Player empowerment. In Knocked, you aren't given many tools to survive. In Verrückt, you are, but the layout actively works against you. But Shi No Numa shows off how fun Zombies is when the player is overpowered. That's something we still see today, and people who were good noticed right away.
10,000.
Let me be clear, I was not those people. For me, the first few runs were hard. I died to dogs probably the first 5 times I ran the map.
Bro, you're trash, bro. Is them tears, bro?
I was trash, but in just the first few weeks, people on YouTube had maxed out the map at round 2,147. That was the highest round the leaderboard was capable of showing. And me personally, I was uploading around 29 runs to YouTube. This was all possible because for the first time ever, we got a new gun exclusive to Zombies. You thought the ray gun was good? Nah man, the Wonder Waffle kills 10 zombies in one shot. And I don't have any data to back this up, but I'm like 95% sure they boosted its probability in the box. It normally shows up in your first few box hits every time. And on top of that, they replaced tight corridors with wide open space. The devs tried to balance it by adding water to slow you down and a new enemy type. But it didn't really work. You could just jump through the water and the new enemies just brought you a max ammo every 5 rounds. Don't get me wrong, the dogs aren't the bullshit BO3 and beyond dogs. These things slap, and if you aren't prepared by round 5, you'll be done.
What?
But that guaranteed max ammo made insane rounds possible on solo.
Let me cook!
The main key to Shi No Numa's success, though, was a different type of player empowerment. If Knocked and Verrückt were too scary for you, you could still load up this map.
Listen, kid, I think you'd be more comfortable over at that place.
Weenie Hut Juniors!
It's spooky, sure, but you have to go out of your way to find the horror. There's no more screaming when you just walk into a room. Treyarch walked the line really well here, because there's still plenty of environmental storytelling. A dude hanging in the spawn room with a tragic backstory, messages coming from radios, an interactable phone with a chilling voice coming from the other side. And a meteor giving us our first hints at how the zombie outbreak started.
I wonder if that rock brought those freak bags.
But it wasn't just subtle storytelling. We finally had honest-to-God characters. Tank, an idiot American, Nikolai, a drunk Russian, Takio, the worst character, and Richtofen, who was interesting.
Nikolai, would you like me to cram it down Dempsey's throat?
And this goes for all 4 characters. Most of the jokes were fine by 2008 standards.
This is fine.
But today, they're just straight up offensive.
This needs to stop now.
Regardless, this marks the real start of the zombie storyline. And at the time, those bodybuilding message boards blew up over it. Everyone was trying to figure out who these characters were, why they were there, and where this story would go next. Shi No Numa was a perfect storm. People were already falling in love with the mode, but now success was attainable, and there was a hidden storyline to dive into. It pushed a lot of us to become hardcore fans. But for every good thing Shi No Numa did, it made plenty of missteps. There's a zipline to nowhere. Some people hated the water, there was nowhere to camp, and there's really only one reason to run it today: high rounds. The Wonder Waffle and 24 zombie spawn limit makes Shi No Numa one of a kind, but have you tried playing co-op? It's absolutely miserable. Only one person can get the Wonder Weapon, and the other is just training somewhere without it. Because of that, I'll start ranking with casual gameplay. At just a 2, it's World at War's lowest single rating, but replayability is why this map is still iconic. People spent 15 years on the grind to 10,000, and they eventually made it, so it gets a 10 there. Also a 10 for reception, with an 8 for setting, and a 9 for innovation. That brings us to a 7.8, and the B tier just ahead of Noct. In a mode with dozens and dozens of maps, Shi No Numa found a way to be unique. Today, that leaves it with a bit of a split legacy. Some people love it, and some hate it.
Mama say that.
Shi No Numa is good.
Mama's wrong again.
But that's not an issue for World at War's finale. Der Riese is unanimously the GOAT.
Swarming, look out!
If Shi No Numa took zombies a step closer to series staple, Der Riese solidified it as one. The trailer, a banger. The layout, perfect.
Beautiful.
The atmosphere, unbeatable. But it was the progress and progression that cemented its legacy. Der Riese is an absolute unit, and on August 6, 2009, it changed this niche game mode forever. It's still goated decades later, but at the time, it was almost unbelievable. I'm not even sure where to start, so let's just boot it up. The second you load in, you can visually tell this map is different.
I'm built different.
Directly in front of you at spawn is a machine that's iconic to us today. But at the time, all of us were asking, what the hell is this thing? Then you look around and there's this giant teleporter pad thing and a bunch of futuristic imagery. From a bunker to a mental hospital to a swamp. Zombies was scary before this, but Der Riese is our first step into the science fiction side of horror. The map is immediately off-putting, but not in the same way Verrückt is. You're in a secret Nazi facility, and even though it's the 40s, they have technology you don't understand. It just doesn't seem like you belong in this place. And if you weren't in on the zombie storyline before, you probably were now. It was nearly impossible to not immerse yourself. And the coolest part of it is, we had way more questions than answers, but you could find some information on radios around the map.
Hi guys, Mr. Waffles here. Dr. Richford and Dr. Maxis have been exploring the science of teleportation by swapping bodies with Samantha.
This is the start of arguably the best era for COD Zombie's story. There was so much mystery, and devs have admitted they were looking at our message boards to find out where to go next. No one person had a roadmap for where the story would end, so we were all just crowdsourcing theories, and some of them ended up in the game. If you made a post about COD Zombies from like 2008 to 2010, there's a chance you had a direct influence on the story, and that community was something we lost when it became a AAA mainstay. But story is just a small part of Der Riese's success. The main factor was gameplay improvements. This map added so damn much. But the biggest thing, in-game objectives. Like I said, Pack-a-Punch is literally the first thing you see when spawning in. You have no clue what it is, and the game doesn't tell you how to open it. But it does do a great job pushing you to explore the map to figure it out yourself.
Just buying all the expensive doors, no big deal.
For the first time, we have a real quest. Save money, open the map, link 3 teleporters to spawn, Pack-a-Punch. Your reward is, you can turn any gun in the game into something new entirely. Instead of just 2 guns working past round 20, you can upgrade anything to make it viable. Your PPSH becomes the Reaper. Any LMG is now elite. Even the starting pistol becomes one of the most deadly guns in the game. Unfortunately, the Kar 98K is still straight trash. Regardless, this new mechanic created replayability. You wanted to test every gun with PAP to see what it turned into. And the quest adds levels to the setup process. It used to take maybe 10 to 12 rounds to get your loadout. Now, that could realistically last until round 20 or 25, especially if you aren't great with points. There's just so much more to do. Pack-a-Punch costs 5 grand, the Bowie knife 3,000. You still gotta buy your perks, and you still need money to spin the box because it's got something new in it.
happen.
And the monkey bomb was worth spinning for. It gave you 3 get out of jail free cards. And because of all the points you had to save, a meta formed. Shoot 4 times, knife, buy a cheap rifle, and get the Bowie early. If you could pull this off, you could basically double your income in the mid game and get set up early. All of this makes the process more satisfying. It boosts the skill ceiling without making the game impossible for newcomers. Nothing is mandatory, but if you have the knowledge and skill to manage points, you can bend the map to work in your favor. But there is one thing that won't help you much: the Wonder Weapon. The Wonder Waffle is back from Shi No Numa. The problem is, if you zap yourself, you lose the Juggernog health boost. Most call it a glitch today, but I'm not convinced. I think this was part of Treyarch's reaction to people breaking Shi No Numa. They also ended the 24 zombie spawn limit for solo, but I don't know that they needed to. The layout probably would have stopped us from breaking the map anyways. You've still got some space to operate, but unlike Shi No Numa, you have to stay on your toes if you're running a train. There's no wide open space, so you have to utilize most of the map. But most of us didn't really play it that way though. Like Nacht and Verrückt, Der Riese was all about camping. There are so many places to hold out in this map, including probably the most iconic spot in zombies history: the catwalk. No windows behind you and a literal 20-foot runway in front, giving you plenty of time to shoot zombies. Adding that on top of pack-a-punched guns had everyone sitting up there just to see how long they could hold out. But more than just surviving, there was another objective. Flytrap, hide and seek, whatever you want to call it. It took us weeks to realize this was there. It may feel small after playing maps like Origins, Mob, and Shadows, but this was a huge deal at the time. If you shoot this little thing with a papped gun, Samantha will talk to you and lead you through a game of hide and seek. There are just a few steps and no reward, but the devs were testing the concept of Easter egg quests. They wanted to see if something like this would pique our interest, and it did, building the foundation for shit like this. Der Riese is World at War's only well-rounded map. It was loved at launch, and it's loved today. So let's go through ratings real quick. We get 10s for reception, innovation, and casual gameplay, with an 8 for replayability and a 9 for setting. Averaged together, that's a 9.4, our first S tier map. While Der Riese was the first truly great map, it wouldn't be the last, and it had one flaw: accessibility. Not everyone buys DLC. So for the launch of Black Ops, Treyarch was faced with a challenge: bring the greatness of Der Riese to a wider audience. The maps we'll look at next time are some of the most legendary in the series, and we'll be tasked with answering the question, do they deserve that title? Well, if you made it this far, I just want to say thank you for watching, and especially thank you to everyone who watched and commented on my first video. The response was fucking insane, and y'all's comments were incredible. I don't know what I was expecting starting a channel, but it was not that kind of reception right at the start. So seriously, thank all of you. You guys are helping me, keep my motivation through all this. And if you weren't here for the first video, go watch it. Links in the description. Subscribe if you haven't. We're going to drop an in-depth video like this every 2 weeks. But that being said, I'm pretty excited to be moving on from World at War, honestly. I've put thousands of hours into these 4 maps, so I had an idea of what the rankings would look like before this. But replaying through all of it with my friend Jacob, I kind of remember why BO1 was such a big deal when it launched. World at War is pretty jank, like in a charming way, but it's still jank. So I'm looking forward to kind of playing on a new system and just diving back into Black Ops 1, honestly. But other than that, I'll catch y'all next time. Next in-depth video 2 weeks from now.